Welcome to Belief Busters Podcast, where we change the world one belief at a time. True transformation happens when we question if the beliefs we hold are of truth, or simply someone else's belief that we have internalized as our own. I'm your host, Rev. Sheree Taylor-Jones, and I'm glad you could join us on the journey. Did you know that the meaning that you make about change can make the change you're going through one that's filled with joy or filled with dread? Did you know that? I see head shaking, metaphysicians, love it. And what's interesting is that as I listen to the consciousness that is Unity Church of the Hills, I also got to listen to the meaning that was being made as I arrived to be your spiritual leader. And I got to tell you, we've got some very, very creative folks here. The meaning that we make, right? Some have interpreted me as either the Messiah arrived, the Messiah's here, not overwhelming at all, or I am here to destroy everything that you held as dear and sacred. Wow. That's huge, right? And here's the thing. I am all those things. And guess what? So are you. You are all those things because we know there is no thing that is not of God, right? We know that. We know that every time that we step up and talk to someone, we are either lifting up or tearing down. It's a choice that we make. So, the path of evolution of consciousness is really similar to, those 360 performance reviews. Some of you who are corporate may have heard that. Yeah, okay, and you're like, no, not the 360 review, Rev. It can't be spiritual, but it can be. The goal of that is it's a tool to allow the employee to be getting feedback from their manager, their coworkers, and their direct reports, right? That's where the 360 comes into place. And the goal of that is to seek actionable feedback to the employee and give them a better understanding of how they support the organization. So if we continue with that analogy, then how do we do our own 360 when we're looking at our evolution of consciousness? What? You mean there's work? Yeah, my friends, yeah, there's work. So the first thing that we would do is we would look at the thoughts that we have, right? Because we know that's the building block, the thoughts that we have. And then we're going to look at our behaviors, which we know is the outpicturing of what? Thoughts, right. So we're going to look at our behaviors and then see, what do other people in our lives think about those behaviors? And then we're going to say, am I being the Christ in this organization? Am I being the Christ? And from this awareness, this now allows you to do what? Create an action plan to shift to the next evolution of consciousness. There's a tool. Evolution of consciousness doesn't mean that we reside in that frequency where, what was fabulous 10, 20, 30 years ago is still okay today. Because the frequency has changed, has it not? It also doesn't mean that we throw everything out and not honor our past experiences, the lessons that we learned, what brought us to this precious moment. All important. Evolution of consciousness means that we include and transcend. Then we breathe, we assess again, and then we transcend and include. So for those of you who are ready to light this community on fire, I say, yippee! You're welcome and you're necessary. And for those of you who want to go to a deeper level of meditation and deeper within, do you know what I say? Yippee! You're welcome, all are necessary. Okay? Why do I say that? I say that because all of us are necessary for this community to be whole. I believe there is enough space, there is enough love, there is enough light to hold us all. That's my understanding of this community. Now, I like that unity is a noun, right? And it defines the unified state of being, the unified state of being joined as a whole. And it says that each individual member of this community is welcomed. Everyone's embraced, everyone's celebrated, everyone is honored as necessary for the whole well-being of this community. The whole well-being of this community. My friends, that's why we do the work. It's not just for us. Yes, that's nice. But it's just not for us. It's also for our community, right? My first talk with this community is what I call a credo talk. A credo talk. Credo is this. Credo is a statement of beliefs which guides someone's actions. I wanted you to know who I am. What drives me? What excites me? What's my passion? I wanted you to know all of that. That was not a mandate that said if you didn't think the same way that I thought, you didn't feel the same way that I felt, that you weren't welcomed. You know that flies against everything that we believe in unity, does it not? What it was for me was a moment where I got to be vulnerable to you and with you, where I shared my deepest desires and hopes. That's what that talk was about. And here's what I know from spiritual wisdom and from watching people who have come before me. I must be authentic and in integrity. It is foolish to put those veneers on to get people to like you. Because what happens over time is the real you shows up. And everyone is like, what? Right? They're all disillusioned. And so I didn't want that to happen to you because here's what's happening right now. A minister and a spiritual community, it's like, oh, so we're going on a date. Ooh. And then we get engaged. So this is the engagement period, in case you're wondering. So we're engaged now, right? We said yes, we're engaged. And then we get married in a really short period of time. The wedding is June 6th. That's the installation, so just in case. Be here. So, and I don't know about you, but dating life was really interesting. How many guys did I kiss who said that they were the prince? Prince Charming. Only to discover they're a flawed human being, right? Nothing wrong with that. But they weren't my person. I wasn't in resonance with them, right? And it's so disappointing to discover that the person that you've put your hopes on, isn't who they said they were. And so I really did not want that for this community, Unity Church of the Hills. I wanted you to know what you were getting. I didn't want you to feel like, you know, when that minister presents itself as the second coming, and then you find out, oh, simply a human. And then you also find out, and I'm not in resonance with you. That's so disappointing. So yeah, I basically, opened up and shared where I am and who I am. Here's what I found out about studying ministry. I studied ministry, as Frank mentioned, transitional ministry, church governance. The most important thing about ministry is the relationship that you and I will have. That's it in a nutshell. Anything else doesn't really matter. It's the relationship that we are having together. Are you being fed? Do you feel loved? Do you feel appreciated? Do you feel seen? The ability for me to see you, to hear you, and allow your own divinity to have its way with you, is important for your spiritual development. The ability for me to see your divinity and still hold you accountable for your continued growth is vital to the well-being of this community. Are you seeing this? Of this community. And finally, your ability to see me, hear me, accept my visions, my dreams, my humanity, that allows me to continue in my spiritual evolution. What we're talking about, my friends, we are talking about resonance, frequencies. That's what we're talking about. So, what happens when we are in that field of love and acceptance? What do you think grows? More love and acceptance. That's what grows. Right? In a spiritual marriage, what it is, it's about seeing the truth, the aspects, all aspects of who we are. You know, the great stuff, the good stuff, the kind of like, mediocre stuff, and the yikes, what were you thinking moments as well, right? But we do that and we hold all of that with grace. With grace, my friends. Not holding each other in judgment and condemnation, because that's not what we want to grow. We want to grow love. We want to grow acceptance. Grace, there's a lovely definition for grace. Okay. My husband tells me, stop moving your hands when you've got the clicker. Do I listen? Grace is the free and unmerited favor of God. And as metaphysicians and spiritual practitioners, what do we know? We know that we are God in skin. We are God in skin. So imagine if we held each other in favor. What? Held each other in favor without being something that they have to be earned, or you have to see it my way. You know, I think that if we were able to be with each other in grace, we would have these amazing conversations, right? Without making meaning and without becoming polarized in our identities. Imagine someone actually coming up to me and asking me, so Rev Sheree, what are you thinking about social action or social justice? What? You want to have a conversation with me because you're holding me in grace, right? In favor. So instead of making meaning or the assumptions of what that means, we're now getting down to business. We're having that delightful, juicy conversation of what it means. And you would find out that social action is simply a byproduct of being the Christ. What? Yeah. It's a byproduct of being the Christ. Simple. And I would share with you that if the frequency and consciousness of the Christ is love and oneness, then that would require us to love everyone, to see everyone, to know each person is an aspect of God. You would discover that this is not an intellectual discourse for me. That's not what this is about. It would require us to do something if we see someone in distress. So if God needs food, love, clothing, compassion, care, empathy, then being the Christ requires me to do what? To feed, to clothe, to love, to listen, to give grace to God. You see, being the Christ is not mindfulness. Oh, now she's gone off the rails, right? Being the Christ is not mindfulness. We practice mindfulness so that we can serve other people. That's why we practice mindfulness. It's not the end goal, my friend. It's a step too. I feel like we're having church up in here today. Let me just say that. Being the Christ is not saying, oh, we are all one. No, being the Christ means that we are living and acting from oneness, to consciously lift up each person that we meet, that we talk to, that we connect to. Being the Christ does not mean simply saying, I'll hold you in prayer. Now, we know prayer is powerful. We do know that. But being the Christ means that we hold the person in prayer and do something to support them, whether they're in difficulty or joy. Do something to support them. And when we choose to assist someone, now here's the thing, it doesn't mean that they better do it our way. They better see it our way. That's the only way they can do it if I'm going to help them. Well, no, it doesn't mean that. It means that we give something, it's theirs, and we release all expectations, all outcomes of that. There's no strings or judgment attached. I'm sometimes baffled with us in unity. Some of us are opposed to helping people. And yet we use Jesus as our way shower. And I got to tell you, Jesus was a badass. And I'm using, it's a defined word. It's a defined word, right? And it says, I make myself funny. Okay. It says to be tough, uncompromising person. Jesus was a badass, right? He didn't say, I hope you feel better. I hope you find some food to eat. Oh, I hope you find peace now that your loved one has died. No! Jesus healed the sick. He fed the hungry. He raised the dead. He didn't say, oh, poor Lazarus. He said, Lazarus! Right? Lazarus! Do you hear me? Lazarus! We've got work to do. That's the Christ. And we are all capable of that, my friends. We are all capable of that. Jesus called out injustices and hypocrisy. He overturned tables. He refuted idols. Yes, Jesus did separate from the masses. He went away. He meditated, right? He connected with God with the allness so that he was filled up to come out and do more miracles. That's the purpose. That's the purpose. And when he was doing those miracles, he didn't condemn folks. He didn't say, you need to get a job. Why aren't you working? He didn't say that, right? How could you die on me? Don't you know better? He didn't say that, right? We know the verse. Ye without sin cast the first stone, right? When the people were trying to stone to death the woman that was an adulterer. He did not have judgment. He just helped them. And then from our continued conversation, you would know that social action can be as simple as sending a gift, a call, a text, love to someone who may have lost someone, who may feel lost. That's social action. Or social justice can be as huge as ending injustice systems and creating new ones that treats everyone fairly. It all depends on you, my friends. What's your purpose? Why did you say yes to incarnating here now? What's yours to do? And this just isn't about Christology. Christology is the study of the Christ. It's not just that. There are many faiths that believe in social action. The Buddhists, they have a required action called the dana. And this concept includes sharing and selfless giving without anticipation of return to the giver. Zakat, the third pillar of the Islam faith. Compulsory giving to those Muslims whose incomes are at a particular level. It's considered a purifying tax. Jewish people have an obligation to perform charitable works known as tzedakah. The Sikh community, they have this wonderful kitchen called the langar. You ever have an opportunity to partake? It's profound. Everyone is welcome. You sit on the floor, the meal is dished out, and they incorporated that to shatter the barriers of caste and class. So yeah, I have a vision. My vision is that we change the word unity from a noun to an action verb, right? So you want to be in that state of being united and joined as a whole? Then do an action to unify. Love someone, care for someone, listen to someone. There's so many people that are lonely that just want to be listened to. Give money to the homeless. And when you give that money, bless them. Don't go, why are you on the side of the road? Bless them. If that's yours to do, bless them. Release it without expectations. Hold someone in grace, not judgment. And when you interact with someone, whoever they are, treat them as if they are God in skin, because that's what they are.
If you are enjoying these conversations about assessing your belief systems and how to transform outdated beliefs, then please subscribe and give us a positive review. To support this podcast and its transformative work, you can also become a sponsor for as little as $5 a month. You can reach Rev Sheree at info@beliefbusterspodcast.org. To continue on this journey of evolution, you can also get my book, Turning Your Why into Why Not, at Amazon or any other bookstores, which gives you practical tools to do this work. See you next time on the flip side.